Hello again everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 Custom Project Set 1. Today we have the fourth car already of this set, the Nissan Fairlady Z 300ZX Racing Modification from Gran Turismo 1. Now, this car is different from those that we've already covered in the series in that it isn't based off of a real life car. It's based on a custom edition racing modification from the first Gran Turismo game, though its livery is based on an actual 300ZX racing car. In Gran Turismo 1, there were racing modifications that you could fit onto cars to change them from road cars to racing cars, though this was mostly a visual package only. The only stats affected by modifications were weight being lowered drastically, and in some cases, things like downforce, but horsepower and the gear ratios and everything like that was largely left untouched. So when I went back to the game and saw this, I thought that might be a little underwhelming for a tuning guide video like this, so I decided to take a bit of a liberty with this one and essentially replicated what a fully tuned 300ZX racing modified car would be like, fitting everything that is available in the first Gran Turismo game's tuning parts section to this car and working from there. So, let's head down to the tuning shop and fit all our custom parts. So, in this build, we are wanting to replicate a fully tuned version of the 300ZX Racing Modified car, and I was almost able to get there. In Gran Turismo 1, you can just buy a Stage 4 turbocharger from the parts shop, no questions asked, but in Gran Turismo 7, you have to win an Ultra-High RPM Turbocharger from a roulette spin. I don't have access to this as I haven't won it yet, and I don't even know if it's technically available. So this car emulates the car from Gran Turismo 1 fully tuned, but with a Stage 3 turbo instead of Stage 4. I've also fitted a sports air cleaner just to get as close to the original car's horsepower as possible. It's got a few more horses than in Gran Turismo 1, but it's as close as we can get, sitting at 574 horsepower compared to 571 in Gran Turismo 1. Without the filter, it only sits at 564, so with the filter fitted, we are closer to that 571 original number. The only other difference is that in Gran Turismo 1, the car weighs 17 kilos less than my build here does, but we can't get the weight any lower with the parts that we have available to us, so it's slightly heavier and has slightly more power, but other than that, everything else is accurate to Gran Turismo 1 as is possible with the parts we have in Gran Turismo 7. So, with that being said, let's head into the sports section here. We have the sports computer fitted. This is because the only ECU available in Gran Turismo 1 is a sports computer, so I went for this one. We also have the sports air filter fitted. We have weight reduction stage 1. And technically, I have the sports brake pads equipped, but you can go with the racing ones. It's just, technically speaking, in Gran Turismo 1, the brake kit listed is the sports brake kit, but in the description of the part, it says carbon brake discs. So what I've opted to do is I've gone for the sports brake pads, and then I've used the carbon ceramic brake discs to technically match the description. You could go for any combo. You could use sports brake discs and pads, racing brake discs and pads, or any combo you wish. But sports brake pads are what I'm using currently, but you could use the racing brake pads. It doesn't really matter. In Club Sport, we have the sports brake kit, like I just explained. You don't need it if you want to go with the racing brakes, but technically it's listed as a sports brake set in Gran Turismo 1. We also have Stage 2 weight reduction. I bought the Power Restrictor, but it isn't used. It's just nice to have it for if you want to downtune it. Same with the ballast. In semi-racing, I have the fully customizable computer, but it's not used. We have the High RPM Turbocharger. We have the fully customizable LSD. And we have weight reduction stage 3 and increased body rigidity. In the racing section, we have engine balance tuning, polish ports, the anti-lag system, the racing intercooler, the racing air filter is not used, the racing silencer, the racing exhaust manifold. The racing brake pads are not used by me, but you could use them if you wished. Same with the racing brake discs if you want to use these. The fully customizable suspension here is also fitted. We have the brake balance controller fitted as well. The racing clutch and flywheel is fitted. We have the fully customizable racing transmission, and we don't have a weight reduction stage 4 available to us. It might be available in a spin, I don't know. Then we also have racing hard tires, but you could also go for softs if you wanted. And in the extreme section, I have opted to use the carbon ceramic brake discs, but again, you can use the sports discs or you can use the racing discs if you want. Technically, like I said, it is a sports brake kit, but the brake description says carbon discs, so whatever way you want to go, I've got carbon discs with the sports brake pads fitted on this build. I've also bought intermediate tyres, but you don't need those unless you plan to use this car at the Le Mans Cash Grind event. So, that's all our custom parts fitted. So now we can head back to the garage and we can head into our car settings and look at the tuning. So, what I really wanted to do with this build was take the car we had in Gran Turismo 1 and translate it over to Gran Turismo 7 as close as I could. So I took the settings from Gran Turismo 1 and translated them over to this game as best I could. Because some stats from Gran Turismo 1, like your body height, your downforce, the transmission, they are consistent across both games because those settings exist in both games. But not every setting that's in Gran Turismo 7 appears in Gran Turismo 1. So I've had to do some guesswork and approximation to get a good feel for how this car handles in this game, to make it not control like in Gran Turismo 1 because that's impossible with the physics changes and everything, but to make it a nice controlling car that feels realistic, so it's not too over the top crazy in like difficult to control or easy to control. So I think this is a good approximation of what I'm trying to go for with replicating this car in this game. For our tires, we have Racing Hard tires equipped. For our suspension, we have 103mm for body height on front and rear. For our anti-roll, we have 5 front and rear. For our compression on dampers, we have 35 front and rear with 45 for the expansion. For natural frequency, we have 2.75 on the front and 2.90 on the rear. For a negative camber angle, we have 2.0 on the front and 1.0 on the rear. And for our toe angle, we have 0.10 towed out on the front and 0.25 towed in on the rear. For our differential settings, I have gone for 10 on initial torque, 15 for acceleration sensitivity, and 10 for braking sensitivity. All of those are on the rear because this is a rear-wheel drive car and not four-wheel drive or a front-wheel drive car. For our downforce, we have 40 on the front and 145 on the rear. For the ECU, the sports computer is fitted. For balance, the power restrictor, nothing is done there. For our transmission, we have the fully customizable racing transmission equipped, and you will need to do some manual adjustment on this. These gears on screen right now are the gear ratios from Gran Turismo 1's car, exactly copied over into this game. So when you're manually adjusting gear ratios, I recommend starting from the 5th gear or whatever the lowest gear in your car is and working your way up to the 1st gear. This is because of the way the gear ratios work. It's easier to tune the lower ones first than to start with the top one, because then you will have to go back and forth and back and forth. Easiest way is to start at your lowest gear and go up to 1st. After you have the first numbers here, like your 3.214, 1.2925, etc., then mess with the final gear. Only adjust the final gear once you have the correct numbers in 1st through 5th. Otherwise, you may mess up some of your configuration. So, into our turbocharger sections, we have the high RPM turbocharger fitted. We have our anti-lag system on and it is set to strong. For the intercooler, we have the racing intercooler fitted. For our air cleaner, we have the sports one fitted. Our silencer is the racing silencer and the exhaust manifold is not actually fitted. For our brake system, I've gone for carbon discs and sports brake pads. Like I said, you can do any combination of these. You can have regular sports discs and sports pads. You can have racing brake discs and pads. It's entirely up to you. I'm just trying to go for the best of both worlds with the description given in Gran Turismo 1 saying carbon brake discs, but it technically being a sports brake package. I also have the brake balance controller fitted, but I've not set it to any particular number. The idea is to adjust it during the race if you want to use it. For the clutch and flywheel, we have the racing one equipped, and for our engine tuning, you can see the engine tuning parts fitted here, polish ports, balance tuning, and our weight reduction stage 1 through 3, and our increased body rigidity. So now that we have all our parts fitted, we can head out to the Deep Forest Raceway and see how this car performs in practice. So, this car is fast. It really feels like a race car, which might sound like a given, but you'd be surprised, honestly. There are a lot of road cars that, when racing modified like this, they still feel somewhat like a road car in some particular aspect, but this car really feels like a racing car, which may due to it being completely over the top, but the end result is a car that is both incredibly fun to drive and is actually pretty useful for money grinding. This car is a good candidate for the Le Mans ground event. The only change I made was I swapped out the Racing Hard tyres for intermediate tyres, and it won easily. The car can definitely step the tail out a little at times, usually after heavy braking corners, which could lead to oversteer, though it's not major, it's pretty minor oversteer and you can easily control it. I wanted to include a car like this in this pack because I love Gran Turismo 1 and it's where I got my start in the series, and I wanted to bring back some of the unique cars from it. So I wanted to include at least one car from Gran Turismo 1 in this package as an homage to the game that got me started with the franchise. And since I'd already done the GTO LM edition in another video, and I'm already doing 2 different NSX builds in this set, ruling out the NSX LM GT2 from Gran Turismo 1, I decided to go for this one as, while it wasn't a car I used a lot, I always really liked the livery on it as a kid, and I enjoyed using it when I did use it. I'm thinking if I do another pack like this in the future, I'll include either the NSX LM GT2 or maybe the RX-7 LM edition, but that's up for debate, and I'll see what happens with this set. We'll see if anyone's wanting another set like this, but that'll do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed this throwback build today, and stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.